Tonight, on Legislative Review. A Senate debate on the controversial amendment to Washington's Parents' Bill of Rights. Plus, a push to manage livestock methane emissions. And legalizing the therapeutic use of psilocybin for adults. All that coming up on Legislative Review. Thanks for watching Legislative Review. I'm Angela Nolasco. We start off today's coverage with a discussion led by the Senate.
There are times when a home is not the loving, kind, compassionate place that we all want it to be. Everyone voted for this bill last session to reduce the age of consent to 13 because they realize that sometimes that harm comes from family members and guardians. And we have to protect the children who are survivors of sexual assault.
Why would you place every parent and just assume the worst? I don't understand the debate we're having today.
Controversy surrounds a new education bill in Olympia, which sparked a heavy debate on the Senate floor Wednesday afternoon.
The Senate will now come to order. The Secretary will call the roll.
Senate Bill 5181, sponsored by Democratic Senator Claire Wilson, proposes to amend the Parental Rights Initiative passed last year so it aligns with current state law. She calls it the cleanup bill to eliminate ambiguity in the law's current language based on comments she received from school districts after the initiative passed.
This bill preserves the core of the Parental Rights Initiative while it is adjusting key provisions in order to remove the redundancies and the contradictions and create the clarity that we seek.
When lawmakers passed Initiative 2081 last year, state Democrats said they would likely make changes to it in the future.
When we did pass the Parents' Rights Initiative last year, we said from day one that if it brought confusion and that if clarity was needed, that we would return and make changes. And that's what brings us to the floor of the Senate here today.
Now state Republicans are pushing back, saying that amending it would be taking a step backward. The bill has sparked a heated discussion over parental control and student privacy, quickly becoming one of the most controversial bills introduced so far in the legislative session. One of the amendments would allow students to consent to healthcare services like mental health and reproductive care without parental notification, a point of contention for state Republicans. Proponents say it would provide much-needed clarity for schools that have requested it, claiming it would protect vulnerable students, especially LGBTQ youth, from potentially harmful situations at home. Opponents, however, argue that it strips parents of their fundamental right to know what's happening in their children's lives. They believe schools shouldn't interfere with non-emergency medical decisions and that parents deserve to be fully informed of their children's care. During final passage, Senator Wilson spoke on her bill.
I sat on the school board for 8 years. I started my career in early learning as a parent involvement coordinator, and then as a parent involvement manager, and then as an executive director of school family community partnerships. Families have always been at the core of my work, and that is work with all parents, not some parents. Families do need to know their rights, and they also need to know their children's rights are protected, and all means all.
Speaking in opposition, Republican Senator Leonard Christian said schools should focus on improving education rather than taking on a parental role with students.
Children belong to their parents. That's why I opposed this bill. Children belong to their parents, not the state. Yes, the state gets the opportunity to teach into their lives, but they still belong to their parents. In a time when schools are asking for more money, asking for bonds and levies to do the job, they're failing in my district because there's not the trust that the schools have got the idea that the children belong to the parents.
Democratic Senator Yasmin Trudeau disagreed, citing inclusivity for students whose circumstances might be different.
And I'm a product of somebody who did not have the same stable circumstances. I could not have said that I belonged to my parents. I could not have said that for a good portion of my life, Mr. President. My mother has limited English skills. She is intimidated by institutions. She has guided 3 of her older children who are highly capable in many ways through this system, but was completely unprepared for what the IEP system was and how to navigate it. I represent the Tacoma School District. I am a product of the Tacoma School District. We are an incredibly diverse and inclusive community. My constituents are asking for us to clarify things for them.
Referring to the original Parents' Rights Initiative, Republican Senator Phil Fortunato said voting for the bill would be going against the vote of the people.
We hear a lot of the communication from the other side about protecting the children, et cetera. But what we're actually saying is a 13-year-old or older child can make a medical decision and the parents not be informed. That's what we're voting on. So I would appreciate a no vote on this and respect the vote of the people.
The question before the Senate is final passage of engrossed substitute Senate Bill 5181. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado.
The Senate took a floor vote.
Mr. President, there are 30 yea, 19 nay.
Having received a constitutional majority, engrossed substitute Senate Bill 5181 is declared passed. The title of the bill will be the title of the act.
Senate Bill 5181 passed along party lines. It now heads to the House of Representatives for consideration.
Climate change is science. And I hate to say that, but it really is. It's not a party, it's not partisan, it's not religious, it's a science.
State lawmakers are looking at a new bill that, if passed, would require dairy farms and feedlots to report their annual methane emissions to the Department of Ecology. House Bill 1630, introduced in the House Environment and Energy Committee, aims to reduce methane, a potent greenhouse gas produced in livestock operations, for instance, when cows release gas. These reports will be used to track and manage agricultural methane emissions and contribute to Washington's long-term climate goals. The bill builds on Washington's Climate Commitment Act, which aims to cut greenhouse gas emissions across all industries by 2050. Democratic Representative Lisa Parsley sponsored the bill.
We're not going to ask farms to put things around the cows to measure how much they're emitting for methane. We're going to start simply. We're going to see if this is an actual problem. And I'm a veterinarian. I also have a PhD in biochemistry. So I like data. I think data is a very good way to do policy. If you don't have data, you're making policy based on assumption. We need to start with data. Once we understand the full impact of this industry, we can decide if there's a policy.
Proponents say it's important to track and manage methane emissions from livestock to ensure that the agricultural sector plays a role in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Climate advocate Selden Prentice.
Methane is an extremely potent greenhouse gas. In fact, on a 100-year timescale, methane has 28 times greater global warming potential than CO2. As the people of Los Angeles continue to reel from the horrific fires, including some of my own family members, and the current federal administration seeks to defund climate policies passed under the Biden administration, we know that climate disasters will continue and worsen.
Critics of the bill, mostly from the cattle and farming industry, argue that livestock isn't the only source of methane harmful to the atmosphere, and that the bill could cripple small dairy farms and impact food waste management. Jack Field of the Washington Cattle Feeders Association.
Our feedlots and dairies play a critical role in utilizing food byproducts, whether it be cannery waste, potato slurry, anything that falls off the chain at any of our food processors. Those don't go into landfills, those go into livestock rations, where we're able to utilize that and turn it into high quality protein to feed our communities here. We don't feel that the measure before you is a sound one to move forward. We'd ask that you not take action.
I'd like to open the hearing now on the final bill on our agenda today, Senate Bill 5201.
The Senate Health and Long-Term Care Committee also met Thursday to review a bill that would legalize the therapeutic and supervised use of psychedelic substances for adults. Sponsored by a bipartisan group of lawmakers, Senate Bill 5201 aims to allow anyone 21 and up access to psilocybin, the psychoactive compound found in certain mushrooms, in a safe and controlled environment at licensed facilities. Psilocybin has been increasingly studied for its potential to treat mental health issues, including depression, PTSD, and substance abuse disorders. The bill is still under review, If passed, it could open the door to a new era of mental health treatment in Washington, offering individuals what proponents call a safe, scientifically backed alternative for healing. The full hearings covered in this episode are available to watch on demand on tvw.org. That's it for this episode of Legislative Review. Make sure to join us nightly at 8 and 11 for your highlights of the state legislature. And follow us on social media. Have a good night.